Chosen one, your voice has changed color. It is not louder, it is lower in the way a river is lower than rain. A gathered thing, a kept thing, a current that knows where it's going. You speak, and people stop fidgeting with objects that never needed so much attention. Screens are set face down. The air redistributes itself. This is not because you dominate the space, but because your sound carries a permission that most rooms forget to grant. We don't need to hurry to be honest. Your sexual energy, once electric, is now electrical, wired through purpose, held by grounding, translated by clarity. It arrives in your words as warmth without smoke, light without glare. Those listening feel the nervous little cities inside them quiet their traffic. Chosen one, depth in a voice is not only pitch, it is integrity. Your tone no longer bargains. It does not ask for a discount on truth. There is a mercy to it that does not dilute meaning, and a precision to it that does not wound pride. You do not confuse softness with vagueness. You do not confuse firmness with hardness. The result is the rare music of a man who can speak in full sentences, even when the moment begs for slogans. You say less, and it means more. You leave pauses that are not empty but inhabited. By trust, by oxygen, by the possibility that someone else might climb the silence with their own unguarded thought. Your listeners realize, often with surprise, that they have begun to hope while you were talking. Chosen one, the architecture beneath your words is breath, and your breath is honest. You take air in without skimming the surface, and your exhale carries the steadiness of a man who has made friends with his diaphragm and his doubts. That friendship makes your vowels patient and your consonants kind. You no longer weaponize wit to win rooms. Jokes remain, but they land like blankets, not like blades. When sorrow is in the air, you do not cork it with quickness. You make room for it to sit down and unbutton its heavy coat. When joy is in the air, you do not hijack it. You pass it the microphone and hum along. People trust a voice that doesn't steal the moment it narrates. Chosen one, your voice protects even as it persuades. You correct without humiliation because your aim is repair, not applause. You disagree without spectacle because your aim is understanding, not trophies. You ask questions that require more than answers. They require presence. What do you need right now sounds different when you say it. The words are common, but the tone makes them a doorway. The person in front of you walks through and finds that, on the other side, their dignity is intact. They find that you are not mapping their confession for future leverage. They find that your interest is not a net, but a field. The body hears this and goes on saying yes in places where it used to bolt the doors. Chosen one, even your no has learned to sing. It arrives with clarity that does not bruise, with finality that does not punish. No spoken from fear scrapes. No spoken from alignment lands like a chair being set where it belongs. The feminine recognizes the difference by how her shoulders behave after you speak. If they climb, the no was a wall. If they settle, the no was a frame. Frames allow art to exist. Walls hoard space until it goes stale. You have built a gallery out of your boundaries, and your voice is the curator who knows how to say, not that, not here, not now, while keeping the exhibition beautiful. Chosen one, your voice now understands timing, which is the moral dimension of sound. You do not clog a delicate moment with commentary. You do not leave a wounded moment naked. You place words like compresses or like candles, depending on what the scene asks. You count to 2 before you answer questions that will change the temperature of a relationship. You resist the temptation to be clever when clarity would be kinder, to be theatrical when truth would be quieter. Timing turns content into care. Timing is how wisdom reveals its manners. Your manners are becoming legendary among those who never thought they would use the word legendary about manners. Chosen one, your voice is also becoming bilingual in the dialects of power and tenderness. You can say, enough, and the room learns the meaning of the word without feeling diminished by it. You can say, I was wrong, and the room learns what strength sounds like when it bows. You can say, I'm proud of you, and the child inside a grown face believes you because your tone does not carry a bill. You can whisper, you're safe, and a whole history inside someone's ribcage sits down for the first time this year. These sentences are not tricks. They are the fruit of a man who has let his own chest hear them first. Chosen one, because your voice reaches deeper, it also reaches farther. It begins to carry beyond rooms, beyond nights, into mornings that need a reason to start kindly. People will quote you without saying your name, not because they forgot you, but because your words have become useful. Useful words travel. They doorstop a closing heart so light can enter. They wedge under a heavy day so a little leverage is possible. They become lines someone mouths while waiting in a hallway or sitting in a car outside a hard conversation. Your voice is walking around the city in other people's bodies, doing work you may never see. Chosen one, keep tending the instrument. Drink water as if articulation were a sacred river. Sleep as if resonance were a renewable resource. Let silence remain your teacher so volume never has to become your substitute for depth. When you are tempted to fill the air, practice laying a hand on your own chest and listening to the message beating under it. When you speak after that, whatever you say will be the right size. A man is never more attractive than when his words fit him. No bagginess of brag, no squeezing of shame, just the tailored cut of truth. Your voice wears you well now, and as it walks the world, it leaves rooms rewired for courage and tenderness, the two harmonies every heart has always wanted to sing. Chosen one, your beauty sharpens the moment you stop renting space to chaos. Not because you grew colder, but because you grew clearer. You no longer mistake urgency for importance, or drama for depth. You read the weather of a room the way a captain reads a sky, and you refuse to sail into storms built from gossip, bait, and borrowed panic. Your phone no longer has the right to yank your nervous system like a fire alarm. You answer at human speed. You decline at human speed. You think at human speed. This unhurried cadence is the polish on your presence. It tells the world that your life has a helm and your spirit has a harbor. The feminine feels that helm and that harbor before your name is remembered. Her breath changes, her shoulders lower, her eyes choose to stay. Chosen one, your calendar has quietly become a covenant. Sleep is no longer the leftover of a war with productivity. It is the ritual that keeps your dignity alive. Food is no longer a negotiation with shame. It is the brick and mortar of a day worth living. Movement is not punishment. It is gratitude for the instrument you've been given. These are not self-care slogans for the light of public rooms. They are private vows, kept when no one is clapping. Kept vows emit a signal. That signal says you will not trade your peace for a momentary spike of attention. You will not sell your integrity to win a skirmish that was never your battle. You will not let random winds pilot the craft that carries your future. Eyes recognize that signal even when ears miss the words. They keep returning to its source because wholeness is charismatic in ways advertising can't counterfeit. Chosen one, you stopped auditioning for chaos the day you learned to let silence answer first. A message arrives with a voltage meant to make you sprint, but you breathe. An accusation arrives with a hook meant to make you bleed, but you examine its barb and decide whether it has earned your skin. An opportunity arrives with glitter meant to blur your vision, but you tilt it toward the light and check whether it throws a shadow. This is not aloofness, it is alignment. Your sexual energy, once content to be spark, has become current. It flows through discernment instead of detouring around it. You are attractive now because your attention is expensive and your character is solvent. You invest in what you can steward. You walk away from what cannot sustain truth. You do not confuse intensity with intimacy or chaos with chemistry. You would rather be alone than lost, and that preference is a lighthouse others steer by. Chosen one, you have learned the art of the clean refusal. Your no lands like a door that fits its frame. No slam, no draft, no apologies stapled to the jam. Chaos hates a clean refusal. It needs gaps to wriggle through and echoes to amplify itself. You give it neither. This is boundary as craftsmanship, not boundary as theater. You do not weaponize your distance to punish curiosity. You do not wave your standards like a flag to recruit admirers. You simply honor the shape of your life and protect the temperature of your spirit. People relax around such geometry. Trust grows where edges are readable. Desire grows where trust is possible. Your refusal does not make you less wanted, it makes you safe to want. Chosen one, you curate where your attention lives, and curation is devotion. The shows you watch, the music you let inside your chest, the rooms you enter, the jokes you permit to nest in your mind. These are architects building a house around your heart. You have dismissed the architects who love spectacle but hate structure. You have hired the ones who understand that beauty needs load-bearing beams. As the house has strengthened, your presence has simplified. You do not need to peacock when the foundation is sound. You do not need to shout when your walls don't wobble. You stand in a corner, listening, and the room migrates towards you not because you demand a center, but because you create one. Chosen one, when chaos tests the perimeter, you neither dramatize nor deny it. You ground. Your breath returns to its metronome. Your eyes take inventory. Resources, exits, humans. You make one good choice and then the next. The impression you leave is not of a man who never feels fear, but of a man whose fear does not get the steering wheel. That difference is the sexiest mathematics a body knows. The feminine is not looking for a statue, she is looking for a thermostat. Statues do not move when the weather worsens. Thermostats feel the drop and quietly deliver heat. You have become heat without hurry, and bodies listen to heat before they listen to speeches. Chosen one, you have also become sovereign over your interpretations. A delayed reply is not a verdict. A furrowed brow is not a prophecy. A closed door is not a curse. You ask for clarity before you build a cathedral to confusion. Chaos starves when you refuse to feed it with invented stories. In their place, you offer curiosity and care. Did I miss something? Can we slow down and name this? What do you need right now that I can honor? These questions are bridges. They carry moments across rapids that would have swallowed lesser boats. Your attractiveness lives in these bridges, in your willingness to make crossing possible without turning yourself into a raft for those who refuse to swim. Chosen one, you are unavailable to chaos not because you hide, but because you host. You host order, grace, rhythm, and truth like a table that never runs out of honest bread. Your sexual energy does not roar over the conversation anymore. It warms the room so the conversation can be brave. Others come near, not to bask in your spectacle, but to breathe in your climate. They leave steadier than they arrived, and their steadiness becomes your quiet legacy. This is what it means to be irresistible without being intrusive, magnetic without being manipulative, beautiful without being brittle. You are not the storm. You are the shore that teaches it how to finish. Chosen one, something unexpected happens when a man's strength learns how to hold tenderness without trembling. People begin to guard the very gentleness he embodies. They see the way you greet a moment as if it were a living creature. No grabbing back. They see you carry your power like water cupped in two hands, careful not to spill it on those who didn't ask to be drenched. They see you speak to a shy truth with a tone that does not scare it back into the hedge, and they decide, often wordlessly, that your way of being is worth defending. Loyalty gathers around you like a ring of standing stones, not because you demanded a circle, but because your presence created a meadow that deserves one. Chosen one, loyalty of this kind is not a fan club. It is a family of guardianship. It forms in small moments. A friend nudges a conversation away from cheap cynicism because your hope is in the room. A colleague shields your time from needless meetings because they know what your focus builds for everyone. A woman corrects a rumor that would dim your name because she has seen how fiercely you protect the absent. You did not audition for such advocates. You earned them by making your kindness durable and your boundaries kind. People protect what protects them, and your energy protects without fanfare. The hand that steadies a shoulder without ownership. The text that says arrive safe without surveillance. The silence that makes space without withdrawing love. Chosen one, your gentleness is not the softness that comes from fear of conflict. It is the softness that comes from mastery of it. When tension arrives, you do not abandon tenderness to cosplay as iron. You let your spine handle the iron so your gaze can remain human. Those watching register the alchemy. Here is a man whose firmness makes space for mercy, not a man whose ego performs rescue to harvest applause. They begin to take personal responsibility for the climate around you. They lower their voices in your orbit, not out of intimidation, but out of respect for the atmosphere you cultivate. They want your way to keep existing because it makes their own better selves easier to find. Chosen one, the feminine in particular, feels a protective impulse rise, not to guard your fragility, but to honor your sanctuary. She sees the way you celebrate her boundaries and refuses to let others mistake that celebration for weakness. She notices how you step aside to amplify her voice and refuses to let that stepping aside be misread as absence. She watches you repair quickly when you miss and will not tolerate the world calling that repair performative. She has tasted the shelter you bring to rooms, and she does not intend to let smaller appetites dismantle it. This is good, her instincts say, and good must be guarded. Attraction matures into allegiance in hearts that witness goodness doing quiet work. Chosen one, even elders and the young feel this pull. Elders find in you a student who will not waste their stories. They become sentinels at the gate of your growth, passing you keys with one hand and fending off distractions with the other. The young find in you a map that doesn't humiliate them for being lost. They become heralds of your example, carrying fragments of your sentences into corridors you will never walk. Neither group is starstruck, they are steward-struck. Your energy makes stewardship feel noble again, and nobility longs for guardianship in a world that too often confuses mockery with maturity. Chosen one, part of why others want to protect you is that you no longer protect your image at their expense. You tell the truth in drafts, rather than waiting for perfect prose. You apologize before a committee can be formed to demand it. You admire out loud. You thank often. You refuse to let irony be your only dialect. These choices make you vulnerable in the best sense. Open, breathable, credible. People see the risk you take to keep your heart unclenched, and something honorable wakes in them. They would rather defend a man building a bridge than cheer a man building a throne. You are building bridges everywhere, and bridges make guardians of those who cross them safely. Chosen one, your work in the world has also become adoptable. You initiate projects that feed more than your reflection, and suddenly others are bringing their tools. They want to hold the ladder while you climb because the view you're reaching for belongs to many, not to one. They want to check the knots before you hoist the banner because the words on the cloth have blessed them too. They want to carry part of the weight because they have watched you carry weight that was not technically yours. The extra chair for the latecomer, the difficult conversation no one wanted to have, the litter others stepped over, the silence others were afraid to honor. Protection follows the man who quietly cleans the commons. Chosen one, understand this. The desire to protect you is not infantilization, it is recognition. People are not shielding a delicate artifact. They are surrounding a fire that warms them all. They are not guarding a celebrity, they are guarding a standard. Your sexual energy has settled into a form that ennobles desire rather than extracting from it. It invites devotion instead of dependency, partnership instead of possession, reverence instead of spectacle. In such a climate, love becomes proud of itself. Friends become proud of the friendship. Communities become proud of their shared air. Pride like this is not puffed up. It is protective. It scans for cracks. It patches the roof in fair weather. It keeps the lamp trimmed for late arrivals. Chosen one, receive this guardianship with the same humility that fashioned it. Do not exploit it. Do not hide inside it. Let it be wind at your back, not walls around your body. Keep doing the ordinary, beautiful things that made others want to stand around your way of being. Closing doors quietly, telling the truth gently, laughing from the chest, repairing faster than you defend, blessing what you cannot keep, keeping what you have promised to bless. And when someone steps between you and harm, let your eyes say what your life has been saying to so many for so long. Thank you. In that reciprocity, attraction becomes culture, and culture is the only beauty that survives the weather. Chosen one, the body you wake up in each morning has begun to remember what it truly is. Not a machine to be driven hard until it breaks. Not a billboard to sell a story you do not believe, but a temple with doorways that open to meaning. You can feel it when you stand at the sink and let the water find your palms, how even the smallest rinsing becomes a rite of renewal. The mirror is no longer a courtroom. It is a chapel window catching first light. You meet your own gaze, and something inside bows without shrinking. You do not rush to decorate what is already holy. You simply tend it. The way you shave is a quiet covenant with the face you are becoming. The way you button your shirt is an oath that the day will not make you choose speed over dignity. You leave the house not dressed so much as consecrated, as if each layer of cloth were a litany. Clean intentions, clean words, clean hands. Chosen one, your body carries memory differently now. You used to store anger behind your ribs where it gnawed through afternoons. You used to hide grief in your throat until it made even laughter tired. This month, you have given each feeling a place to finish its cycle. You breathe when the wave rises, you breathe when it breaks, you breathe when it recedes. In the cadence of that permission, muscles unclench that have never known their own names. The spine stops trying to be a spear and becomes what it was fashioned to be, a faithful column that holds your sky. Your walk changes because your weight is no longer arguing with itself. Your eyes change because your heart is not dragging them toward every unfinished fire. Even your rest changes. You do not fall into sleep like a man escaping. You lie down as if entering a sanctuary, and you rise as if leaving a prayer. Chosen one, your touch has learned theology. It no longer tries to seize proof of life. It offers life. When your palm rests against a friend's shoulder, you are not collecting intimacy like coins. You are telling their nervous system a true story. Here is warmth that does not ask for debt. Here is presence that will not counterfeit a future to get what it wants today. When you lift a glass to another mouth, when you steer a body through a crowded doorway with permission and restraint, when your fingers find the edge of a jacket and fold it with the respect a good book receives. These are sacraments. They mean something because you mean something in them. Your sexual energy has matured into a current that sanctifies contact. Nothing is hurried to prove heat. Nothing is starved to feign holiness. Desire kneels beside reverence, and both rise together. Chosen one, there is choreography in the way you inhabit space. At the threshold, you pause half a heartbeat, not performing politeness, but acknowledging passage. Kitchens learn your ritual of arrival. Keys set down softly so conversation does not have to flinch. Jacket placed where memory can find it. Water poured like a benediction over a long day. In these tiny obediences, the world becomes friendlier because you are friendlier to it. Floors are spared from stomping, doors from slammed punctuation, air from hard angles it never asked to wear. The body that does this becomes beautiful without trying. Beauty is the aura of care, and care has replaced spectacle as your native language. Chosen one, you have come to understand that strength is the priesthood of the body. It does not strut, it serves. You train because faithfulness needs stamina, because kindness without endurance becomes apology, because boundaries without breath become brittle. The iron you lift teaches you to keep your promises when they feel heavy. The miles you walk teach you to arrive with oxygen left over for those who forgot to bring their own. The stretching you finally take seriously teaches you that even power can make room for humility. Your physique is no longer an argument. It is an instrument tuned so the song of your life can be played without snapping strings. People will say you are attractive because of how you look, but what their bodies truly feel is how you carry what cannot be seen. Chosen one, even eating has changed from consumption to communion. There is gratitude in the way you break bread, attention in the way you salt a meal, patience in the way you let sweetness be sweetness instead of a sedative. You choose food that expects something of you, that has not been stripped of its stories or beaten into silence. Appetite becomes an ally when it meets honor. The table becomes a place where your body learns again that joy and restraint are not enemies. You would rather be alive than distracted, nourished than numbed, present than pacified. This is why your skin glows like information rather than advertisement. Your cells are telling the truth about how you live. Chosen one, your body has become an honest curriculum for others. Children read it and learn what steadiness looks like when it ties its shoes. Elders read it and recognize the discipline they taught the world, alive again in new hands. The feminine reads it and feels her own beauty treated like treasure instead of terrain. Even strangers in a crowd read it, and without knowing why, stop bracing for collision. This is not charisma alone. It is sacrament made visible. It is what happens when a man stops treating his flesh as a negotiation and begins to receive it as a ministry. Chosen one, do not let this holiness grow fussy. Keep it simple and human. Sweat honestly. Sleep on time. Let water be your daily baptism. Let forgiveness be the lotion you rub into scar tissue that still wants to tighten. When you hurt, tell the truth. When you heal, don't boast. In a world that worships disembodied noise, being at home in your own body is rebellion and revival at once. That is why they stare longer than they intended. That is why they remember your gestures after forgetting your words. The temple is open, and the light inside it is warm. Chosen one, whole spaces tilt when you arrive now, not because you take anything from them, but because you return something they forgot. Coherence. A room is a collection of nervous systems negotiating for safety. You step through the doorway and give them a reference point that does not wobble. Voices change key. Laughter stops proving itself and starts breathing. Arguments that were revving to be born decide they are unnecessary and drift back to the shoreline like small waves that have remembered they are not storms. This is not magic, it is cultivation. The climate you carry has been grown on quiet mornings, defended from hurry, and watered by the vows you keep when no one would know if you broke them. Climate outruns charisma. Climate rearranges weather. Chosen one, attention begins to organize around you without being conscripted. People face each other more squarely because you face them squarely. They set their devices down because you already set yours down. They finish thoughts they would have aborted because your listening does not charge tolls. You do not seize the center, you dignify it. Where you stand becomes the room's ground wire. Static that had been building all day finds a path into the earth. That relief is what they call beauty, because relief is what beauty feels like when it finally touches skin. The most attractive man in a room is the one who makes everyone else feel more human inside it. And this month you have become that man. Chosen one. The shyest things come out when you are near. The story a father has never told without anger, now told with tears. The joke a friend has never told without cruelty, now told with grace. The dream a woman has never named without apology, now named with her chin up. You have turned spectacle into sanctuary. It is not that conflict disappears, it becomes clean. Disagreement loses its appetite for humiliation and gains an appetite for understanding. Even the loudest person in the room looks at your calm and unconsciously synchronizes. The thermostat has set a kinder temperature, and bodies obey truth faster than they obey rules. Chosen one, beauty that changes rooms does not posture, it hosts. You notice who hasn't spoken and leave a pause where their voice could fit. You notice the person standing alone and aim your steps the way a river aims for low ground. You slide a glass of water toward the conversation that has more heat than oxygen. You laugh from the chest so people remember the difference between ridicule and release. Hosting is not servitude, it is sovereignty in its most generous clothes. It declares that power is safest in the hands that do not hoard it. That declaration is why even those who compete with you elsewhere relax around you here. The contest goes out of things. What remains is presence. Chosen one, your boundaries shape the room as much as your welcome does. You set them without spectacle and defend them without drama. When someone tests the edges, you answer with a clarity that does not sharpen into contempt. The room learns from this. It recalibrates around honesty. People find themselves speaking more plainly, asking for what they mean, withdrawing what they cannot offer, and repairing what they have harmed. You are not the sheriff, you are the standard. Standards do not shout, they stand. A whole evening will reroute itself because your posture said, this way toward dignity. Eyes call that rerouting attractiveness because they cannot easily name where the beauty is coming from. It is coming from your decisions. Chosen one, the air inherits your rhythm. A hectic table begins to eat like a family again. A team meeting becomes planning instead of posturing. A first date exits the audition and enters the altar of curiosity. The future in the room stops panicking about whether it will be chosen and starts considering whether it will be worthy. You change rooms by changing time within them, stretching it where tenderness needs space, compressing it where avoidance needs a deadline, pausing it where gratitude should be allowed to catch up. People leave these rooms with fewer knots in their shoulders and more names for their hope. Hours later, the relief is still with them. and they think of you without deciding to. Chosen one, even aesthetics obey this gravity. Music sounds better because you are actually listening. Light looks kinder because your face reflects it without distortion. Colors feel richer because your presence does not bleach them in anxiety. You do not steal the spotlight, you improve the stage. The photograph is not of you, yet it is better because you were there. The story is not about you, yet it is truer because you were within earshot. This is the attractiveness that outlives trends, the kind that it increases the beauty it touches and leaves enough behind for others to carry. Chosen one, the test of such influence is how it behaves when you leave. The door closes softly behind you and the room does not collapse. It keeps the better manners it learned. The meeting carries less venom next time. The friends text each other more gently. The couple remembers the slower breathing. You have tuned the space and gifted it its own pitch. People will come back to this place and remark that it feels different now.